Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hey everybody, I'm Naomi Ekperigin.
And I'm Andy Beckerman.
We're a real-life couple and a real-life couple of comedians. And we're the hosts of the podcast, Couples Therapy.
We're the only comedy relationship podcast ever. Yeah, I said it. And we're so good, we've been written up in both the New York Times and we made Grindr's list of top podcasts.
Yes, we're giving you that high-low appeal. Trust. On the show, we talk to guests like Bob the Drag Queen, Angelica Ross,
Bowen Yang, Janelle James, Danny Pudi, Darcy Carden, Paul F. Tompkins,
and more. All about love, mental health, and everything in between. And we answer your relationship questions. We are two unlicensed comedians just trying to help you out.
So open your hearts, loosen your butts, because we got a lot of laughs
and a lot of real talk just for you.
Download Couples Therapy wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them. That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to TechMagic. I'm your host, Kathy Hackle. This is the podcast where we talk about AI, innovation, technology, spatial computing, and everything in between. As per usual, I am joined by my co-host, Lee Keebler. Lee, how you doing?
We are wrapping up season 2 together.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
This is the season 2 finale.
Yeah. It was a long time ago where you just sent me a text message like, hey, I need someone to fill in a guest co-host spot on this show. What are you doing Monday? And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And then I never left.
You never left. Oh my goodness. You overstayed your welcome. No, not really. We made you permanent co-host. So it's been
I can't believe we've been doing this for 2 seasons and we're going into season 3. This is not the end. So
I know. It's only going to get better, right?
Super exciting. And man, technology has changed a lot in 2 seasons. This is such a different show.
It is such a different show. I mean, I wonder if we listened to our first episode. I remember I was in Laguna Beach for the Wall Street Journal Tech Live event, and I had just listened to the CEO of Roblox, and gosh, it was a crazy time. I remember.
And I think all of that technology is still so relevant, but
yeah.
Boy, howdy did AI come out of nowhere and just say, hey, I'm the show now. And it's just like, good Lord, okay, fine.
Yeah. I mean, it was starting to pick up at that moment. I remember because like Sam Altman was at that show as well.
Yeah.
And there was like a lot. It was him and Mira Murati at the time. And that's the first time I heard him talk about hardware and replacing the mobile, like what his vision was, right? Not the first time anyone speaking about that. It's more like first time Sam talking about that. So on that note, there's lots of hardware news, lots of different hardware news. So many of you that listen to our podcast know that we've been, following a lot of the different companies throughout the years. And a couple of years ago, Meta bought a company called Control Labs that did a brain-computer interface, like a neural interface bracelet of sorts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the purchases was like, this makes a lot of sense if they're going into the glasses category, into hardware. Well, this week, we kind of saw a little bit more what their thinking is around that acquisition and what they're doing with the technology. They're developing a wristwear prototype controlled by thought. They are testing this prototype that detects brain activity. So brain-computer activity, neural interfaces, allowing users to control devices through neural signals. This development, under the direction of neuroscientist William Reardon, signals a move towards brain-computer interfaces embedded in everyday wearables. So once again, Meta is in its hardware era, pushing really hard. Any thoughts on this? Because this is definitely why they bought Control Labs.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. And this isn't the beginning of when Meta started playing with the idea of wristband technology, right? If you even go back to, I think it was like 2017, 2018, they were very much looking at wristband technology as control technology that could tell when tendons would move and shift. And honestly, the VR space, this goes all the way back to NASA. Jaron Lanier, who was working with like the original gloves and trying to dictate how tendons worked in the hand, right? That then became the Nintendo Power Glove, which was a complete and utter failure, but just such an amazing piece of like gaming history. No, I don't have a Nintendo Power Glove. The failure of the Power Glove had very little to do with the concept. It was the materials used, and so they all kind of deteriorated. They didn't really work.
When hands get sweaty, right? They can get yucky. So
it did. It was like it was a great concept of how it worked. The original prototypes for NASA worked fine, right? Like those worked for the time. They worked very well. But it was when they tried to cheapen the materials so they could make it a consumer product for a video game that kids would be able to afford and buy. It didn't line up, right? That's not here nor there. I'm just saying there's a long history of hand and wrist based hardware, and Meta has been interested in it for a very long time.
Yeah.
What I don't understand, and I will need more information, is how wrist based technology could have anything to do with brain activity, like monitoring brain activity.
Yeah, because there's an intention. There's before you even move, your brain thinks what it's going to move.
My history in BCI goes back to stuff that has to be worn on the head, right? Like maybe you can do some predictive intention analytics with muscle and tendon movement in the hands that kind of by milliseconds can engage. But I don't fully grasp how, from a purely definitive BCI standpoint, how a wrist-based technology would do that. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm saying I'm dumb and I don't understand. So it will take more research and more information as the time rolls out that will help us understand what this is. What's very interesting in this is a lot of that wrist-based technology that Meta was very interested in quickly became obsolete as soon as they realized they could just use computer vision to track the hands, right? I was a beta tester way back in like 2012 days for Leap Motion, not Magic Leap.
Oh my gosh, Leap Motion. Yes, Leap Motion.
For those who know my work history, I have a strong work history when it comes to, we called gesture recognition back in the day. Now it would be called computer vision, I guess. But that whole era of technology in like the 2011, 2012 was kind of when I started coming up. And so, yeah, I was definitely an early beta tester for Leap Motion. And we all thought that was going to get embedded in headsets. It was LiDAR, kind of like a small Xbox Kinect, but it only targeted the hands.
It's a fantastic piece of technology.
It was an amazing,
enabled a lot of different things to actually
incredible
just like
tech.
the tracker that HTC Vive had.
Yeah.
You put in your head. Like those are all like now seem primitive, right? But at the time when they came out, they were like groundbreaking and allow us to get to this point right now.
Yeah. One of the things that I saw at AWE last month that I didn't talk about that really did impress me, it was, I'll have to get the information. I'll put it in my Substack because it's worth talking about, but the name is slipping my mind. They did an arcade that would be played out and about. They did this all in a Meta S3 headset, and it could tell when you kicked. So you could kick a ball. So it was doing foot tracking. And
did you wear anything on your foot, or was it just computer vision?
No, that was what was so amazing about it.
That
was
is really
like
cool, though.
You went around, you punched some blocks, you collected some coins. It was kind of very Mario.
That was the little thing that you guys told me about.
Yeah. But I can't remember
Our
for
friend
life
Leslie
of me.
Shannon from Nokia was also raving about it. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was fantastic. It will be in the Substack notes. I am so sorry to the company. Your name has slipped my mind, and I don't have it in front of me. But you could kick, and that was the first time that I had seen like foot tracking that didn't involve a tracker. Because prior to that, it did involve those like puck trackers, or like Sony has their own things like that. So the fact that we're back to Meta playing with a wrist wearable tells me it has to do something more.
Oh, it does. I'm sure.
You know.
I mean, it's the way that you're going to control. So this is the thing. Like, that's how you're going to start to type when you're wearing like your headsets or whatever their device they bring to us. Like, that's how you're going to start to type, because you won't always have like a virtual keyboard in front of you, right?
Virtual keyboards suck. Just
Oh,
as
yeah.
an
Big time.
input device, I hate them. Everyone hates them. The pointy, clicky. It's like you're putting your name in an old arcade machine in 1983. It's just awful. BCI could be really cool for that. I think we're a ways away from that being true. Voice recognition technology, fantastic application for it, but people don't like voice input.
More and more of us are talking to our AIs. Maybe not around everyone, but
It's
alone. Yeah, I talk to
alone. It's getting
Chad.
a little bit more. But you are a person who is more on the go, so I get a lot of voice memos from you.
a lot. Yes,
A lot. But do you use voice to text when sending messages? No, you just you just record your voice.
I actually don't do voice transcription. I don't. This is weird because I know a lot of my friends do. And when they start doing voice memos, they'll try to do voice transcriptions and be like, period, comma. And I'm like, no, I do tons of voice notes. I think this is cultural too. Don't get me, I feel like as Latinos, for some reason, we do a lot of voice notes. I feel like a lot of my Latin friends tend to do voice notes. That's what I've noticed. And some of my American friends actually get really annoyed with
Okay, yeah, but at the same time, when you walk into a Walmart, there's definitely an older generation that is voice to texting just in the middle of the aisle, and there's an age gap for real. This is
period. No, I just do voice notes. I literally do, especially with my assistant. If it's something I need her to tell me and explain to me really well, right now we're working. I'm doing an event in India and we got to do our visa. I said, don't write this to me. Send me a voice note. Tell me exactly what I need to do because that'll make it clear for me. I just need to know that information ASAP. I don't want to consume it in a really quick way. I also think in relationships, texting's great, but voice notes are so much better if you can't have synchronous communication. It has to be asynchronous. Voice notes, you could hear the tone of what someone's saying better than the text. So I think that there's also a place I don't know, I'm a big fan of voice notes and, let us know, reach out to us because I know some people hate them. Some people are do you really need to send me a voice note? I'm like, sorry, that's how I operate.
You know what? I don't like voice notes. I don't. It's never a complaint with you. Yours are always succinct and great.
Right to the point.
The reason why I don't like voice notes is I'm often in a scenario where I can't play to listen to it. So I might be at a lunch meeting or,
at a
whatever.
concert.
And there's just many times where it's just I can't play this out loud. Now, I have noticed the transcription of those voice notes is coming in clutch big time. So I don't really have a big complaint about it. It's just not my go-to way of communicating. Wow, we went way off topic on that one.
Way off topic. Okay, so more hardware news. You sent me this one because I saw the Meta one. Amazon is actually getting into this game as well. They're going to acquire BEE, an AI bracelet that records conversations. E-commerce giant Amazon is acquiring Bee, a startup offering an affordable, it's $50, AI-powered wristband that continuously listens to conversations to provide summaries, reminders, and tasks. They're also recording all your conversations.
Yeah, I hate everything here.
These devices will process audio in real time without storing recordings, raising fresh questions about privacy as the wearable gets integrated into Amazon's ecosystem.
Yeah, here's the thing. It should be free. The hardware should be free. If you're taking that much data from people, then I'm all on board where if the product is free, I recognize I'm the product. I get that. I think most of society understands that. And if this thing really has a genuine value add to you, then I'm totally fine with that. If you know what you are giving up and what you're getting and you can make that deal, hey, that's fine. I get that. That's business. But do I want to pay $50 for a wristband that just records me all the time? No, nothing about that. From what I can tell, it's not even a watch. At least...
No, it's not even a watch. The functionality is literally...
It's basically a home tracker that I think you would get if you got arrested.
It isn't even
and
that cute. Sorry, B. But from a fashion standpoint, it ain't that cute. So
oh, yeah,
I'm sure Amazon's gonna find ways to use it.
I don't know. Amazon doesn't have a great hardware history. The Echo was kind of okay. I get that, but they're pretty hit and miss. They don't have the hardware success rate that Meta had. Now, I'm not saying everything Meta put out was successful, right? There's that Portal was not a success, but they have put out successful pieces of hardware and good brand. but like Amazon, everything they put out feels a little bit cheaper than it should be. And I'm talking about like the tablets, the Fire Sticks, things like that.
No.
They have their place, right? But
here's a question to you now that you bring that up. Okay, because Walmart just hired one of the heads of AI from Instacart. They moved him over to Walmart. They hired him to lead their AI ambitions. Is this a moment for Walmart to get into the hardware game? Because they were buying Vizio, the TV company. So is this an opportunity considering, I mean, does Walmart even want to play in the hardware space in that sense?
well, that's tricky because if Walmart's goal, and I have no insider information here, like we're just spitballing here. If
We haven't worked with Walmart in a long time. So we're friends with folks there, but we haven't worked with them in a while.
if Walmart's goal is to compete with Amazon, one of the best things that Amazon did for their bottom line was coming up with Amazon Basics, right? Like where they created partnerships or bought manufacturing spots for hardware and just slapped a different logo on it. But because they're doing all of the middleman work and the shipping and receiving, they can undercut a good chunk of things. Like one of the most unspoken about product attacks that I've seen in the last decade has been batteries, right? Like everything was Energizer, Duracell. There were these brands, and Amazon Basics has done such a incredible, for better or for worse, job of undercutting the battery industry that Amazon Basics is now one of the top leading battery brands, and it's just the same thing, right? So we've seen that with keyboards. They did it with computer mice, especially if like you're building up a new studio and you need a bunch of developers. Yeah, you're just probably going to end up with a bunch of Amazon Basic computer keyboards and computer mice, right? They're not out there necessarily putting out the next Alienware like gaming laptop or anything, but they are coming for the peripheral market, and they've done that very well. If Walmart wants to play in that space, I could see them doing that. And I think that looking at the changes that Walmart.com has made in the last 2 or 3 years and how streamlined it's become comparative to like Amazon, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
So we'll have to see. All right. Here's some other hardware news that I think we definitely need to get to because you love this. This is, I mean, obviously, no one should like not expect this because this is like very clear. But the Nintendo Switch 2 has become the fastest selling console in U.S. history. Switch 2 has officially outpaced the PS4 to become the fastest selling console ever in the U.S. Its success is attributed to a robust game launch lineup, strong consumer demand, and Nintendo's effective global distribution strategy. This should come to us. This is not a surprise to anyone, really. If this is our podcast,
it's a bit of a surprise to me.
What?
I know.
We've been talking about the Switch 2 forever on this pod.
I know. I was very much hyped about the Switch 2, and I love the Switch 2. It's actually a very good piece of hardware. This is not a complaint to the Switch 2. I will admit that it launched with the robust game launch lineup is not a correct statement. It is one of the most anemic game lineups for the Switch 2 I've ever seen. Now, numerically, it looks robust because it inherits all of the games from the Switch 1, which is a huge library. But if you actually look for games that are like, this is a Switch 2 title, it is so small. I mean, Nintendo launched with one Switch 2 title. I don't know if that's ever happened. One Nintendo branded Switch 2 title on a launch, and that was Mario Kart. And now they're at number 2. And when I say, I mean Nintendo published, right? Yeah. Now they're at number 2 with Donkey Kong, which is moving massive numbers. It's an amazing game. Both of those games deserve the recognition. They're fantastic. They're classic Nintendo, showing people how to do it and how it's done right. That said, there was like maybe 10 Switch 2 titles from other publishers and things like that. And only 2 or 3 of them were even interesting. So I'm a little surprised based on how expensive the hardware was. It is an expensive piece of hardware, $450. That's up there competing with the really big consoles that are basically high-end computers. But yeah, it's killing it. I knew it would do well. I didn't know if I knew it would do this well until there was a bigger library, but good for Nintendo. They figured it out. Like this is fantastic. We see Xbox is trying to get into the portables. There's been a couple of announcements as Xbox trying to get into the portable console system. The Steam Deck is definitely trying to play catch up. But once again, this is Nintendo saying, this is how you do it. And
Look how you do it.
they're killing it. They're killing it.
One thing I'm going to tell you, who's killing it in Mario Kart World? The cow.
Oh, yeah. The cow's super
The
popular.
cow. Everyone's obsessed with the cow on the motorcycle. Have you played with the cow?
Oh, yeah.
There's videos on social about La Vaca, the cow. Like, people are obsessed with this cow.
Okay, so here's the thing. The one thing that this Mario Kart did really well and did differently was balancing. We're going to, just to like dip our toe in the idea of like game development, balancing characters and carts so that like they have different things. So some of the characters are smaller. Those characters are lighter. Some of the characters are really big, like Bowser or Donkey Kong. Those characters are way heavier. So they control differently. So you can, but none of them actually give so much of an advantage that this becomes the default that everyone drives. That wasn't the case in previous Mario Karts. Eventually, like the game could get a little broken and, okay, this is the character everyone's playing. That's not true in this particular one. So now it's about, well, what funny, crazy character do you want to play? Because you can win with any character. You just have to figure out the right combo. And so the cow's like totally relevant. Everyone wants to play this ridiculous Moo Meadows cow that, yeah, it's really an attribution of how well the game is developed, that cow is everywhere right now.
Go play the cow, because like everyone's obsessed with the cow. That being said, before we go on break, I want to ask you, how's your AI training to become a Street Fighter master? Which, by the way, Chun-Li is my go-to Street Fighter.
I'm so bad at it. And I think it's going to take time. Like,
Get on it. You were taking a break from the podcast.
I know. I really thought like, okay, I'm going to follow this regimen. And I did. And it's super helpful. Like, okay, so people don't know, like I kind of did my own little experiment. I went to ChatGPT and I said, okay, I've got X amount of time. I want to rank this well in Street Fighter. I don't have a history of playing this game whatsoever. So I'm going in as green as can be. And I mean, as rookie as can be. It's not like I grew up playing Street Fighter. That wasn't my game, but the latest Street Fighter is, I think, pretty cool. And so I asked it to give me a regimen of like practice so I could get really good. And it did. And I can't fault it on the information that it gave me. I think the information it gave me was very much sound. I just really am bad at the game. I'm so bad at it. It's
Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully you get some time to practice. So we're going to go on break, but after break, we are going to have an interview with my friend Johanna Salazar, who is the podcast host of the Media Machine podcast. I was on her podcast recently talking about tech intimacy, the AI boyfriend experiment, all the stuff that I'm doing. We're talking about spatial as well. So Johanna Salazar will join us after the break.
This message is brought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. And this is more than an ad. This is an invitation to be part of the stories the world can't stop watching. To connect with moments that dominate the conversation, to participate in culture, not just advertise around it. With the most sought-after IP, passionate audiences, and an advanced AI-powered foundation, WBD advertising transforms attention into influence and impressions into outcomes. This is innovation. This is impact. This is opportunity. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. Visit advertising.wbd.com to learn more.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hello, everyone. And on the pod today, I have a good friend who I've known for many, many, many years. Johanna Salazar. She is the host of the new podcast, The Media Machine, who is doing an amazing job. I was just on her podcast. It was an amazing experience. I wanted to have Johanna on our podcast so she could talk more about what she's doing. She's an amazing person. Welcome to TechMagic.
Hi, Kathy. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be on your podcast. I'm a big fan.
Absolutely. Welcome to TechMagic.
Thank you.
Amazing. So for folks that don't know who you are and what you've been doing, I mean, I already introduced you as the host of The Media Machine, but if you can introduce yourself to folks, let them know who you are, what you're doing, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I've been working for almost 25 years now in media. So I started as a producer in television. I started my career at MTV, and I've been in the Viacom, Paramount family for a long time. But I think that what I like to say is that I've spent my life building stories, pretty much stories across studios, countries, platforms, and people. That's how I narrow down what I've done.
Amazing. And you and I have known each other for like a good, almost like a decade. I don't know. I feel like we met a long time ago.
Yeah. In Canada, it was Toronto, I think.
It was in Toronto. That's when we met in person, but we knew each other before that. But that seems like a million years ago for sure. It was at an event over there. So I do want to talk a little bit about your podcast, The Media Machine. It started as a book on the future of content, right? Why did you decide to launch a podcast instead? And what has that shift allowed you to build? Especially because I think it's really awesome that you're launching a podcast, because I hear people say all the time, like, oh, I'm not going to launch a podcast. There's too many, or et cetera. Like, I love that you're doing it and you're doing so well. So tell us a little bit more.
Thank you. Yeah. No, it's so funny because it was over 2 years ago. I was talking to my husband and I was like, I really just want to take time off to focus on writing this crazy book that I want to write. And it was around the future of content consumption. That's like the topic that I'm obsessed with. And so he's like supporting me. He said whatever I wanted to do. And then when I started having interviews and meeting with people and doing all the research, I was like, by the time I bring this book out, this stuff is going to be old news. And that's when I realized, okay, maybe I just need to go out to the world with stories faster. And I'm obsessed with podcasts. I love podcasts. So I was like, you know what, maybe I convert this into a podcast. And my own insecurities got in the way. I was like, there's no way I can do a podcast. Like, I'm a producer. I'm used to being behind the scenes, not in front doing things like this. And so I recorded 5 sessions, 5 episodes, and then I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring it out. I was too insecure. I started telling myself the stories like, no, I can't put this out. The world is going to judge me because people expect so much more from me. And I literally put it on the side. And then I went and I took a job and I went to work on a big project for AppleTV. And so I just didn't come back to it. And then April came around this year and I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I put it on the calendar. I put a team together and we've been doing it ever since. And what I love about what the podcast has opened up for me is that it gives me speed and access to people and ideas. And I just love that because I feel like, I've been building platforms for a while now, and I feel like what I'm doing with the podcast is I'm building another platform, and I never saw it that way. So yeah, it's been just an incredible experience for me. And I was able to talk about I'm able to explore a framework that I believe in, and I call it my 4 key pillars, and it's all about the quadruple bottom line. So that's something that I'm exploring, and I try to put that into the podcast. So everybody that I speak to touches one of those pillars: profits, process, people, and planet.
So I want to talk about that because when I was on your podcast, that's kind of how it was structured. So you use this 4-pillar framework that you mentioned: process, profits, people, and planet across all your work, right? Including the podcast. What does it look like in action, and why is it important right now? Because that was like one of the things that I really enjoyed about being on the pod was like the framework they used.
Yeah. So I feel like for over 2 decades that I've worked leading global content operations and strategy for some of the world's like biggest companies. I feel like I've just learned so much. And I feel like I know what it takes to launch networks, to build systems, to negotiate deals, to create stories that scale. I feel like I've learned so much on that side. And then during the pandemic, my husband and I had a company called Two Goats. And when you and I met, that's the company that we were working on. And we got a call to go help World Central Kitchen distribute meals to thousands of New Yorkers in need. So that put us in front of food insecurity. And I knew nothing about food insecurity. And so it kind of brought my desire to be more impact driven and purpose driven for ever since I can remember. I mean, ever since I was working at MTV, I remember the first time I learned about the concept of social entrepreneurship, which is double and triple bottom line businesses, profit, people, planet. I've always embraced that model, and I always identified as a social entrepreneur. Even though I was an executive producer, I was in media, I didn't really think I was a social entrepreneur. I wanted to be a social entrepreneur because I wanted to do things beyond just media. And so during the pandemic, when this whole thing happened, it kind of brought that sense of responsibility back. And that's when I started thinking about this framework, because I was like, profit, people, planet is something that any business and every business needs to think about. It doesn't matter if you're in media or not. And now that we're all living this, this massive transformation that's happening around the world, and AI being the new thing that's disrupting everything is about processes. Everything is about systems. And so that's why I started adopting this framework of the 4 key pillars that I'm calling a framework, because I think that businesses need to really think about, obviously, profitability. If we're not thinking about the people in the business, then we're not going to survive as a business. If we're not thinking about the planet or the legacy that we're going to leave behind, we're not going to thrive. And now it's all about process. It's like, if we're not taking the processes that we have or don't have in our business, then I just think that many businesses are going to be left behind. And so that's in a nutshell.
No, and it's great. I think it's great that you have this framework for your pod and for everything that you're doing, for sure. I kind of want to pivot a little bit to some of the other work that you're doing. You are one of the co-founders of the FoodStream network. I want to talk a little bit more about that, because that's a part I don't know as much about what you've done. Like that's a part where I definitely want to learn more. So with FoodStream, you're using tech and storytelling to move food, educate kids, and content, and connect community partners. What is the bigger system you're actually building here with FoodStream Network?
Yeah, I love that question, because I feel like what I learned that was missing was equity, access, and intention. And when my husband and I, like I said earlier about the pandemic, when, quote unquote, everything started opening up, we now were facing this massive real world problem. And before that, with our creative technology studio with Two Goats, we were doing these $1 million projects and traveling the world, doing really cool stuff with technology. It was just a lot of fun. And then now we're in front of worlds that we know nothing about. My husband and I knew nothing about food insecurity. We didn't even know what a food desert was. And a food desert is just you don't have access to supermarkets near for like 50-mile radius. So we started thinking about, okay, what do we know? What experience do we have? What skill sets do we have? And how can we apply this into this world of trying to solve food insecurity? And food insecurity, it means a lot of things, but one of them is obviously access to food.
Mm-hmm.
Another is location, proximity. Another is regulation, policies. Like there's so many things that are part of leading to food insecurity that a lot of us don't know about. So my husband and I decided to really look at what we know how to do and apply it to the space. So we realized that the problem is not that there's a lack of food in this country. It's that there's a lack of connection. All the systems are fragmented and dispersed, and it's just broken. So we were inspired by LinkedIn, and we said, why don't we just launch the LinkedIn of food insecurity? And so that's what we set out to do. And we built the first iteration of the platform. We put over 800 people signed up. And then we started talking to people and we were like, well, what is it that you need? And the people that signed up are businesses. So it's a B2B platform that we built. It's a social network. And people go on there. When I say people, I mean organizations. Organizations go on there that have food. So somebody says, I have tons of chickens or I have tons of something. And an organization like a nonprofit or a food pantry says, I need that food. We enable that movement, that connection, that conversation. So we're building a trust-driven infrastructure, which is like, that's pretty much what we're doing. I love to say that we're creating the intelligence layer of food security. And so what we do is we use our background experience. So we use technology, we incorporated education, and we're all over New York. And now we're looking to expand outside of New York. But
that's amazing.
In the core, it's just a platform that is trying to, eradicate hunger in the world.
That's so amazing, Johanna. Like, that's one part that I didn't know you were doing. I absolutely love that. And when you say that, want to make tech that's human, what does that mean to you? How are you putting that into practice obviously with FoodStream seems very clear, but with the Media Machine as well? Like, how are you combining that idea and that philosophy in both of your projects?
Yeah, I love that because I feel like everything today is tech. So when you go into a classroom, there's monitors and screens. Whenever we're building technology, it's all tech. But I don't like to push tech for the sake of pushing tech into anything. At the core, I feel like I'm not just telling stories anymore. I'm building platforms. So I go back to that because I think that's what I'm doing with both the Media Machine and FoodStream Network. We're building communities. We're putting resources and tools in the hands of people that need them. And when I say human tech, I mean, for example, if we go into a classroom with FoodStream Learn, we work a lot with D75 students. These are kids with disabilities. And so we might bring in a headset and encourage them to figure out how to create mac and cheese in VR. And that we only do that if we feel that this population would benefit from these technologies.
Yeah.
So the human tech part is more like the trust-driven infrastructure that I keep talking about. It's like looking at what the population needs, the community needs, and then incorporating organically technologies that will benefit and amplify whatever it is that we're looking to amplify.
I'm so impressed. This is so cool that you're doing all this because, like, I know you from the Media Machine, but this other stuff is amazing. So I do want to talk about like the personal leadership, like you as a leader, and then the leadership you've had globally. You have worked across major networks, including ones in Latin America, and as well as women's sports and obviously grassroots education. How does your global bilingual lens shape the way you build platforms today? And I think this is super important, as more and more people are bilingual.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, and you can relate to this because I feel like we've been in power rooms our whole careers. And now we are building our own rooms. Like we no longer need somebody to give us permission to walk into a room, to sit at a table. We're building our own tables. We're building our own rooms. And I think that that's the part that really excites me. And being a Latina in the space, I mean, in the tech space, a couple years ago, we would have conversations, this very well, about like very few of us, especially Latinas, like we all know each other.
Yeah.
And now we have groups called like Latinas in Tech and all these things. And so we're starting to see much more representation across the board. But for me, what's happening right now and what technology is enabling, it's making us all have superpowers.
Absolutely.
I just love that. And I'm embracing it, and I want to be an advocate for it, and I want to be a voice for it. So, yeah.
Oh, it's so exciting. I can totally relate to that. And And I also see our work as, as Latinas in tech as beacons of hope, beacons of people saying, oh, I can achieve that. My friend Sandy Carter is the first person I heard say, if you can see it, you can be it. And I think that, one of the things that I saw when I came into the tech industry was seeing people like Noni de la Peña or Evelyn Miralles, Latina women who were leading in virtual reality. And I said, you know what? I can do that. So you and I are kind of those beacons of hope as well in some ways.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
Oh, I love that. So, Johanna, thank you so much for being on TechMagic. This is actually the last guest interview that we're doing for this season. We're going to go on a break. So I love that this is how we're going to end the interview series. I do want folks to be able to reach out to you to listen to your pod. How can they connect with you? How can they listen to the Media Machine?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, have fun on your break. Yay.
Woohoo.
People can find me on the Media Machine podcast. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, please like, subscribe. I need to say all these things.
Yes.
And share. You can also find me on LinkedIn, and you can also find us on FoodStreamNetwork.com, FoodStreamNetwork or education.FoodStreamNetwork.com, so you could see the wonderful work that my team and I are working on there. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for being on TechMagic.
Thanks, Kathy.
All right. That was a great interview. Johanna has, like I said, a really fun podcast. I urge you guys to check out the Media Machine podcast. So, Lee, okay. So let's talk more about some things that are well done, some things that are not as well done. Your thoughts on Apple's liquid glass? Because I was very bullish when I saw the announcement, but they seem to be maybe dialing some things back because
they have to
feedback. Like, I was like, okay, liquid glass, like that seems like they learned something from the Vision Pro. Like I could see the through line of like Vision Pro technology in some ways and like how this might be heading into a Vision Pro version 2 or whatever other devices. But apparently there's mixed reviews. Like, what are your thoughts?
Legibility on anything that is less than a 10-inch screen is paramount. And I am still surprised that liquid glass came from a company as design focused as Apple without really taking in consideration of how very hard to read that overhaul was. I also think it's disingenuous from them to present liquid glass as a product. And I feel like they did do that, as opposed to like, no, this is a UI refreshment.
A feature, kind of.
It's a feature.
Right?
It's a new UI. I don't recall, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember Apple ever doing a UI overhaul and giving it some type of ridiculous product name.
I mean, they had, what was it, Island? What was the Island thing? What was it called?
I honestly don't remember.
I can't remember what it was called.
I know that they like at one point, if you go back and you look at like the original iPod, or like, and I mean like the iPod Touch, or like you go back and look at the original iPhone, obviously it's come a long ways from UI and graphic design and things like that. But those were things that just like kind of naturally happened. And maybe they gave them a product name, but this is the first time I've seen a UI really push as like they created some genius product. I don't understand that. But hey, that's an Apple thing. I am genuinely surprised how hard to read it is on a screen. I'm glad that they're dialing some stuff back. It's officially in beta tests right now, public beta. So if you have your beta test turned on, you'll probably eventually get it sooner than everyone else. But it's a UI refreshment. I don't know. It's fine, I guess.
I have the name here of Dynamic Island. I remember when they announced Dynamic Island.
I don't remember that at all. And probably people one day won't remember liquid glass and I'll forget that this even happened. But yeah, I don't know. It's fine. I get the need to like streamline. If you really have a future with the Vision Pro, this UI makes sense. But they must be doing something with the Vision Pro to be able to justify the design choices that's in liquid glass. I can't wrap my head around any other reason because there's just blatantly better design choices for a phone interface.
Talking about islands, and this is not in a rundown. I just want to know, do you or anyone you know watch Love Island or watch the last season?
No, I don't. No, I know what it is.
Love Island or have gotten to Love Island in the past?
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I have no history with Love Island. I know what it is vicariously through memes that seem to pop up on the internet, and I don't even try to understand.
You don't even try to understand Love Island. Well, I'm sure some of our listeners do watch Love Island. it's just a car crash. I mean, the season just ended, the US one, right? Because UK, like, there's the UK, like, I have watched more of the UK Love Island than the US Love Island, to be honest. I just think it's fascinating because it's taken over, like, culture, like, it's like a thing. And just when I was looking for like Apple Dynamic Island, everything
That's
that was
all that
coming
came
up was Love Island. I was like, no. I mean,
I watched the rest of Squid Games, and that takes place on an island. Is it the same thing?
it's a very well. There is eliminations, right? There's a very different types of eliminations for sure. I wonder who would be on Apple Island.
Oh,
Johnny Ive, Tim Cook. Oh my gosh, that'd be really funny. I did do this funny thing. So someone invited me. I have some friends that do a video podcast on Love Island, the UK version, and they invited me to come and talk about the tech intimacy scale and how some of the contestants were using tech and their Instagram feeds. So yeah, there's this whole component. I don't know. I just thought I'd bring it up because I feel like people are obsessed with Love Island. But anyway, who would be on Apple Island? That would be a good thing to do.
I'm on a Pixel, so I think I'm already off. I'm already voted off.
Off of Apple, you're voted off.
Yeah.
You have been eliminated.
Yeah.
Eliminated for sure.
Speaking of Pixels, this is according to Gizmodo. Google has accidentally posted full product listings, complete with promotional art for the next Pixel lineup. This isn't like a little leak of maybe this is a leak of the Pixel 10, like the Pixel 10, which we all knew was coming. This is like the Pixel 10, the 10 Pro, and the Fold, and it all accidentally popped up on the Play Store. So
is everything accidental though? Like when I see these things, I'm like,
when it's this deep, yeah. because it showed pricing, release dates, all of this stuff. We're not gonna spend any time really going deep into any of that, but when things accidentally, with air quotes, leak, and it's not really an accident, it's always teasing. This is just like, here's the menu, right? And I feel like that something must have gone awry for it to be that, either that or they were just like, we don't really want to do a big, to do on this, so just throw it out. Hey, I'm down for that too. I really am getting sick and tired of every tech company feeling like everything they put out deserves to have like a keynote that we all line up for at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. Like, stop with this nonsense. Just tell me what you got to sell. The phones aren't that different. They're not that interesting. Move on, right? So maybe this is them moving on. In which case, I applaud that. That's great. I'll look it up and see if I want a Pixel 10 and if I want to upgrade. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't.
It was funny because like that did not even come to my radar because I don't have a Pixel. Like I'm just all Apple, iPhone all the time.
You're
right?
on Apple Island. I get it.
I'm on Apple Island. You're on Google Island. So yeah.
That's fine. We barely talk to each other. Voice memos. That's about it.
Yeah. When you text me, I know you're texting me from a Pixel,
Oh, green buttons. The world's coming to an end. Get over it.
People actually look at that when they're dating someone.
And you know what? If that's a deal breaker, what is it? Swipe left? Which way am I going here to get out of
Right, when you like them.
Yeah, then swipe. If honestly, if green bubbles are a deal breaker for you, swipe left. Like just get over it. Like come on.
I don't really care what the person's on, but some people actually do look at that, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, any other news you want to discuss?
I'm surprised you don't want to talk about the Google launching AI virtual try-ons.
Yes. Definitely excited about that. I haven't tested it out. Definitely need to try it out for sure. I just have been like not as a tech girly. Like I haven't been using my tech as much. I've been like, I've been traveling, went on vacation. I needed a little break.
I think that's true for people in general. I think we are at a point where not much is impressing us.
Mm-hmm.
Because this would have like been headline for us.
I mean, I would have
3 years ago
to test it. I would have been like first lining up to test it. But I'm like,
there's an exhaustion happening in the tech arena, and I don't know what will overcome it. I was on a panel, I wasn't speaking on a panel. I was on a Zoom call of like thought leaders doing a panel, and we were all talking. And the amount of people and we went around in a circle and introduced everyone, right? And the amount of people who got on the mic and said, this is who I am, and I'm working on this type of side project in AI, or I'm looking for this type of funding for my AI project, or blah 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 AI, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And this was not a meeting to discuss AI. Let me be clear. This was a tech thought leader.
Like a tech thought leader, like
right.
Like a brain jam of sorts.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my gosh, this is blockchain all over again. And I do think this is starting to bubble up for people who are thinking a little bit deeper in the tech industry. And that is, yeah, AI is interesting. LLMs are interesting. I'm not saying they're not important. But if your company, if your big idea relies on just being a candy wrapper that wraps around ChatGPT, you're already wasting your time. This is already dead in the water. You may actually get your funding, but it won't matter in a year.
The moat is like,
so unless this is just you out there purely trying to get a funding grab, which exists, and I'm not here to validate or invalidate that, whatever, but it won't be a success because you're not actually doing something that the LLM that you don't own won't already do. But it spurred a very interesting question that popped in my head. And you saw it on LinkedIn, and no one other than you replied to it.
Yes. That was a brilliant question, Lee. I have to give it to you. I was like, damn, that boy can think. So
and it came from that conversation, which is the metadata of a digital asset protected by that asset's copyright? No one responded. I mean, it was...
We need to write an article about that.
It's tumbleweeds because and I think it might, people think that there's like laws that define things. That's really not what it is. Laws settle arguments that have already been had, but arguments that haven't been had don't necessarily have laws, right? And I think so when I pose this question...
There's no precedent, yeah.
There's no precedent to ask this question. It's never been challenged in a court. So therefore, I don't think there's a definitive law and yes or no, this exists. I'm not a lawyer. If you're a lawyer and you're listening, please let me know. So the question is, when an LLM, we're going after LLMs for copyright infringement, right? Like that's a
fair use of copyrighted material.
Right. And the question that we've been asking is, can you train an AI on copyrighted material? Good question. Open for interpretation. Not the question we should be asking.
Very true.
Because every AI company strips the metadata of the content it brings in before it trains that AI. In doing so, are we infringing on the copyright of the file you inputted? Forget the training aspect, the fair use of it, right? Like it's an easier question to defend. I'm very curious if there's any legal precedent on stripping the metadata from the file itself, because that seems like an infringement and an alteration on copyrighted material.
And here's where I think your question gets even more interesting and why I reacted to it is because I'm in Washington, D.C., and over the last couple of days, I mean, this should have been AI week. Like last week was crypto week here. This should have been AI week. I mean, President Trump put out a whole like plan for AI in U.S. and in some of the words and some of the things that he said, he talked about how training the models on copyrighted material was fair use because it's just like people educating themselves. We're talking about the copyrighted material. We're going to talk about the metadata. So your question becomes even more important in this framework that was presented. Because there's
idea, right, of like, okay, I have ownership of this copyrighted material. I purchased this album and I have ownership of it and I'm running my own LLM and I'm going to process my LLM and can it learn something from that? Yeah, I think that there's actual precedence to that, to the human experience. If I go buy a book and I read that book and I learn something from that book, then that was the purpose of that purchase of intellectual property.
Yeah.
Does that apply to if I buy a book and I train my computer to learn something from that book? Is that fair use? And I think, yeah, the answer would be yes, sure. It's a strange question we never thought we'd be asking. But if you don't purchase that book, you take that book and you strip that metadata so it can't be proven of what that data is. Are you altering that book in a way that is actually infringing on that book's copyright? Is the metadata itself protected by copyright when that copyright is adhered? And in the US, we have a very strange copyright law, whereas when it immediately exists, it's already inherently given a copyright. So when you send your intellectual property to the Library of Congress, you aren't given a copyright. You already have one. All you're doing is you're sending it in and it's getting a date by the Library of Congress so that the Library of Congress says, yes, you originated this and therefore you own the copyright of it. That copyright could be transferred ownership, blah, blah, blah. That's a whole different publishing question. But I don't think anyone's asked about the metadata for those files.
I'm going to asking some of the legal, like I'm not part of any of the legal groups, but like I'm part of Summit, and there's a Summit Legal Eagles, and like there's a lot of like really interesting conversations happening there. I might ask the question there and see what is the legal precedent here from a metadata standpoint, because that's going to become even more important when you're talking about training models in physical world information and the treasure trove of information and metadata that's going to carry.
Right.
You know, once again, virtual air rights is something that keeps me up at night, and that metadata is going to be so incredibly valuable. You know.
All right, we went down a huge rabbit hole, and I think we should probably end on that.
Yeah, we should. I will say over the break, we will be doing some interviews that we will be sharing for some episodes later on. I am going to be interviewing Thierry Klein, the president of Bell Labs Solutions Research at Nokia Bell Labs. I met him in person recently when I was at Bell Labs, and he and I talked a lot about space communications and what Nokia is doing with networks on the moon. So that's one. And then we've got some other interviews lined up, which will be exciting. But Lee, yeah, I don't have anything else.
I do. Before we wrap up, I want to introduce an album I've been listening to a lot lately. This is the most summertime jazz album that I currently own, and it's one that I don't think people know even exists. It's an ensemble. It's called the Manhattan Jazz Quintet. It's their debut album. It was kind of a super group of jazz all-stars in Manhattan. It was a self-titled album released in 1984. It's called and this is a new genre to me, post-bop. So, yeah, it was considered post-bop jazz. It was specific.
Not to be confused with a bop house, but okay, that's a totally different episode.
This is a 80s term.
Not a good
thing. It was actually targeting Japan's jazz audience, even though it was coming out of Manhattan. So it was very well received in Japan. Really fresh arrangements. It includes a song called Summertime, which I think everyone knows and was recently made popular by a couple of pop artists. When you hear it, you'll recognize the melody. Milestones is another one of my favorite things. It's a great improv sounding, accessible jazz album, but it's definitely not all improv. It's just a really fantastic jazz album. If you're looking for something that's polished jazz that feels spontaneous, yet still composed, Manhattan Jazz Quintet. Beautiful introduction to the band. Definitely something that I would check out.
Summer vibes.
That's my suggestion.
Amazing.
All right. Well, this is the end of season 2 together.
We made it to the end of season 2.
Yeah, we will go on our break and we'll be back next season in just a month. It's not like we're not like Saturday Night Live here. We'll be back quick, right?
We'll be back, yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to TechMagic, where we always invite you to come for the tech, stay for the magic. I'm Lee Keebler here with the incredible Kathy Hackle. Special thanks, as always, to Adweek for bringing this show to you. If you'd enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to connect with you. Just search for TechMagic. That's all one word. Kathy Hackle or me, Lee Keebler, and you're going to find us all over the place. Also, be sure to check out our new Substacks. Kathy's will be packed full of insights discussed here on the show and her articles that are coming out all the time. Mine will have links to all of the stories that we covered in today's episode, behind the scenes clips that you may have missed, and more information as well. Just search for us on Substack. We will be back, not next week, but next season.
In September. See y'all in September.
Bye.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them. That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
I just want to say that I'm back. with a new podcast, Feedback with Ira Madison III. Every Thursday, I'll dissect whatever's taking over my group chat, like who Wes Wilson from Summer House is banging this week, whether film criticism and black art can actually coexist, why every man on a dating app is either illiterate or reading Middlemarch with no in-between, and whatever the hell is going on with heated rivalry fans on the internet. You know exactly who you are. I'll be joined by friends and other culture makers to dissect pop culture, politics, and the media, and all the ways the internet has rewired our brains permanently. New episodes of Feedback drop every Thursday starting June 18th. Subscribe now to Feedback with Ira Madison III wherever you get your podcasts. I should get that.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.